Smiling faces, the family way. Margaret Lewin Quilting will make your day.
Hi, I'm Margaret Lewin, and welcome to Margaret Lewin Quilting. So the first thing we're going to do is start with our chain stitch, and then we're going to go to a variation of a chain stitch. So I've got my thread here, and you can see at the end, this is rayon, so see what it's doing. And it does do that because I just had it stuck there. So I'm going to snip off the end of it and just toss that aside. And remember, this is my first piece, so I'm just practicing, and I am using my milliner's needle, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is take my thread, and I'm going to start the way I always try to start my work. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to take my needle to the back side, and I'm just going to pick up a couple of the fibers in the back. And because we're working with wool, you're able to see the needle through it. Pull it through. And then I'm just going to do my little crossover. And what this does is I don't have to make a knot. So if I'm quilting it on the machine or by hand, when I get to where this piece of embroidery is, I'm not going to feel a bump there. It's still going to be pretty smooth. So that's where I start. So now that I've gotten that started, I'm going to now bring my needle up to the front. I'm just going to carry it over, and I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to start here, and this is A, if you're looking at it. All right, so I've come up at A. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread in front of me, all right, and make this little loop. I'm going to take my needle back down, and what I'm going to do is bring it up again about maybe 3/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch in front of me, or to my, it's actually to my left. And that is your very first chain stitch. Now if I was going to stop, I just would take my needle right back down right here at the end, but I'm not going to stop. So I'm going to do another one. And if you think of the name of it, it's called a chain stitch. So all of the stitches are in a chain. So I'm going to go down right now inside of my loop right next to where I came up. And I'm going to bring my needle forward. See? Take it around. And then pull it again. Now, what's important here, and this is why I'm doing a practice piece first, is you can see I got 2 different sizes going there. I want to get to the point that it's a rhythm so that my stitches are the same size. So I like to work with it in front of me. Some people like to work right to left or left to right. I like to work from from bottom to top. So here we go. I'm going to do a few stitches. Again, I went down where I came up. Now I'm just pulling it through. And here we go again. Here's another one. And what will happen is, as you practice this, you will definitely get into a rhythm with it. And I'm going to go right back down again. And once you feel like you're into a rhythm with it and you're getting pretty consistent size chains, then you can start working on your regular piece. But it is always good to start with a practice piece, only because it kind of gets you into the rhythm of it again. One of the things that I do like about the chain stitch is it's easily made into a wave. It looks pretty as a straight line. You just can do a lot of different things with the chain stitch. Whoop. This thread is slippery, but just be patient with yourself and be patient with the thread. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to maybe make like a teardrop, I think. I'm not sure. And then I'll take this over and I'll do some on one of my pieces, around one of my circles, I think. This, on my original piece, I used in the, whoops, I came unthreaded. I did the chain stitch in my original piece. Believe it or not, right here, well, this is a variation of the chain, as is this. So these are both my chains. Here's the, well, that's a variation of the chain too. But I did do it on my first piece. And I will do it again on my second piece, but this time I'm going to surround one of my circles. I think it would be neat doing that. And I actually do think, now that I've seen this thread, I'm going to use this thread. I like the variation in this because it is so dramatic. You go from some real different colors here, which I think is pretty cool. So here I am, just doing the same thing every time. Go down right next to where I came up, take my needle forward, bring it back up again, then wrap my thread around it. Because this is a rayon thread, so it's slippery, I do hold it with my thumb, and then I go forward. And I really, this is one of those stitches that I like. I think it's pretty calming. I just get going with it, and that's it. All right, so I'm going to tie this one off. I guess I'm not going to make it all the way back up again. But I am going to stop this one. And how I stop it is, I'm just going to go right back down, just on the other side of the thread, pull it through the back, and there is my chain stitch. Right, now I'm going to anchor it, and I'm going to do it the same way I did it to start with, but I'm going under this time. I sometimes feel like doing it that way. Other times I just do it the way I started it. I'm going to stay pretty close to my threads here. Whoop, I came unthreaded again. Again, we are using our #1 milliner's needle, and that was part of your kit. For those who purchased the kits to make this. Oops, I keep splitting my threads. It's time to move on to another piece of thread, that's for certain. I can tell that. There I go. So if you have not purchased a kit and would like to, they are available out on my website, www.missmarkersquilts.com, and you can grab your kits there. I have the starter kits, and I do have the first month of threads, and we're using 6 different threads, and we're going to use the same threads throughout the whole thing so that you're not going to have to purchase a whole bunch of different threads. So there's your chain stitch. Now I am going to start by doing just a plain chain stitch on my actual piece. I'm going to set this one over here, and hopefully you'll be able to see it on the side. Here is my work piece. I'm going to set this one aside now because we've seen it. And now this is my new piece. I'm going to grab a new piece of thread, and as normal, I'm going to take a piece that is about 18, well, maybe it's a little bit more than 18 inches. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to thread it. I am going to take a peek at it before I start threading it because I want to decide which end I want to start with. And I'm actually going to start showing stitches with this end because I really like this turquoise and then this lime green showing up. So I'm going to thread my needle. And I think I'm going to do this one around the yellow. The reason why I'm picking the yellow is because there really isn't any yellow in this thread. So I want to use yellow. So I'm going to start with this one. And again, starting it the way I always do. Just going to pull my thread through. Do 2 small stitches across. Oops. And now I'm going to bring my needle up to the front. And I'm just going to start my chain stitch, and I'm going to go all the way around my circle. So here we go. Bring it up. Pull my thread to the side, down, and back up again. And then I can wrap my thread right around it. Now your first stitch is kind of the most important because that's the one that sets the size for the rest of it. So now I'm going to go down again. I'm going to move this thread to the side a little bit so that it's easier for me to see where I'm coming up and my distance. And then I'll wrap it back around. And again, that's mostly the reason I have to wrap it like that is mostly because we're working with such a slippery thread. But it's so pretty, how can you not work with it? I just have to. Okay, put it around. See. And I'm holding my thumb there just to kind of keep it all together, all smooth and flat. I can't wait to have this change into the next color of thread. It's one of the things that I really like the best about working with variegated threads is just the variation. Once it changes color, here we go into the lime green. Look at, isn't that getting cool? Love it. I love color. I just feel like it can do so many things to us. It just makes us feel completely and totally different at times. Now look, isn't that pretty? I really like that. All right, I'll try to keep my mouth shut and just stitch. And then that way I can fast forward through it for you a little bit. You can see I'm a little tight. So what I'm just going to do is take the eye of my needle, I'm going to slip it through and just pull it a little bit. And you can see what I'm doing is just going through that stitch that I had already, this one back here. And I'm going to just pull it a little bit. And then I can bring it forward and tighten it however tight I need it to be. I'm going to end by going right back down, right next to where I had come up. And what that will do is pull my chain stitch down, hopefully nice and flat, without rolling. Now you can see here what happened. I'm a little bit larger over here than here, So I'm just going to, again, take the eye of my needle. I'm going to go under, and I'm just going to adjust it just a wee little bit, and then pull it tight again. And I'll just mess with it until it looks like it's laying nice and flat. And there I go. There is my chain stitch around my yellow square. I'm going to tie this one off now. And then I'm going to go back to my practice sheet, or practice piece, and I'm going to do something with the green, which is right here, that I had previously sewn. And this is a cool way to make a really simple stitch look very, very exciting. So there's my chain. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do what is called a whipped chain stitch. So I'm going to take this green that I've already done, and I'm going to add some, let's do purple, because that'll really show up, and I want this to really pop. So we'll take our purple, I'm going to unravel it, and I'm going to take again about an 18-inch piece. Snip that off. And again, I'm still working with my milliner's needle. This is a number 1. So I've got my piece. I'm going to start down here. I consider this to be the bottom and that to be the top. I'm going to start right here. And again, just bearing my needle like you've seen me do before. Oops. I'll do my 2 crossovers. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my thread up. Where I'm going to bring my thread up is right next to this very first chain. Right towards the start of it. Right almost through the threads. So right there. Okay. Once I've brought that up, I'm now going to take a look at this, and I'm going to turn this over. I like to use the eye of my needle a lot, only because it doesn't pick up threads and it doesn't split them. And this is the whipped chain stitch. So I'm going to go down to the next chain. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to go down to the next one, and I'm going to go through it. That's it. Then what I'm going to do is, you can see I'm right here. I'm going to go down to the next one and go through it. And look at what that does. And that's all I'm going to do to it, is just take it down through and whip it around. So I've come up on my left. I'm going to skip down to the next stitch, go under both threads, under the tail from the one before, and pull through. And just keep doing that all the way down. But look at how different it makes that stitch look. Here we thought it was such a plain stitch, and by just whipping it, it has turned into something completely and totally different. And the only thing we've done is combine 2 stitches. I want to get a little bit farther down so you can see more of the darker purple and see what I'm really doing here. I picked up a little piece of my wool there, didn't I? Here we go. Oh. Now, every once in a while, see how my thread's getting tangled? Just pick up your piece, drop your needle, and let it untangle itself. Sometimes I do have to just gently run my fingers across it. I'll just run it through my fingers and then rethread it. No big deal. Just makes it easier to take a minute to stop and get rid of all of your little kinks than it does to keep having them there. Because it just twists and twists and twists. So here I go. All right, I am down to my very last stitch. And how I'm going to finish this is I'm going to take this thread across like this. So what I'm going to do is right about here, I'm taking my needle and kind of putting it underneath my chain stitch and pushing it down through. I'll pull my thread to the other side. And there is my whip chain stitch. Now, I think that is a really neat stitch. Thank you so much for joining me today while I worked on my wool needle keeper. Please make sure you post pictures of where you're at on your needle keeper on our Facebook page, Margaret Lewin Quilting, and I will see you again next month for our next stitches. Thanks. Bye.